All right, welcome to Bet the Edge. I'm Jay Croucher here with a forlorn Drew Dinsick, both sharing forlornness after whatever the hell happened in Bills-Eagles, the type of game, Drew, that for me makes me thankful for the health of my children because there's nothing else good in the world after a loss like that. Just completely and utterly ridiculous. We will talk about that game, I am sure, as well as the other games on the Sunday slate we're recording after Lamar Jackson has just passed for a touchdown to go up 7-3 against the Chargers during Sunday Night Football. We'll talk a little bit about the Thanksgiving games, Week 13 openers, and then close out with Bears-Vikings. But let's begin with the headliner. How did you feel about Bills-Eagles?
Oh, it was miserable. Then, I got the over home. I got a 3.5 home. I shouldn't be being a baby about this, but this is now the third game in a row where feel like I've had the right side against the Eagles, Cowboys, Chiefs, and now Bills, and the Eagles just find ways to win. If there is if this entire NFL season is just a practical joke of the football gods being like, we're just gonna, tease you. Somebody's just gonna keep winning, and we get to Eagles Steelers Super Bowl. We're gonna have a good laugh because I don't understand how they keep doing it, Jay. This Eagles team was beat badly, I thought, on just in terms of Bills offense versus Eagles defense for the majority of this game, and yet the one fluky turnover from Josh Allen set the Eagles up for an easy score to go up by 4, and it was like, wow, I guess I'm just going to lose everything. Cool. And the Bills drive, score a touchdown. You're like, here we go. Like, this is the Bills I've been waiting for. And then their defense just laid down. Credit to Jalen Hurts. Big handicap that, or a big angle that has been discussed ad nauseum these last handful of weeks on this podcast and others. The lack of mobility of Jalen Hurts. He looks pretty doggone spry on that touchdown run to end the game, Jay. That was at the end of 4.5 quarters of play. And this Bills defense was not expected to be especially good in terms of keeping the game in reach from a defensive standpoint. And the fact that Sean McDermott came into that game and had a very laissez-faire attitude and, really just didn't seem to feel the, the pressure that I think everyone else who has any stake in the Bills was feeling, was pretty frustrating. This feels like a little bit of requiem for the Bills. I don't know how they claw their way back into the mix now with some of these other teams winning games who are in the wild card hunt and the Dolphins running away from them. But that loss hurt for a number of reasons beyond just the results for that game. I guess credit to anyone that took the middle. This cross 3, this close 2.5. And if you took the middle and you won both, then Merry Christmas.
Yeah, I think Lane Johnson being ruled out kind of out of nowhere after he popped up on the injury report this morning certainly played a part in it closing 2.5. I think the Cowboys game, that was a coin flip, and the Cowboys, they should have won when they were at 1st and 5 from the 6, but they should have lost after they were pinned well back to begin that drive. Last 2 games are a complete joke. The Eagles shouldn't have won either of these games, but credit to them. And I think one of the reasons outside of luck, which has played a big role, if MVS or Justin Watson can catch anything, then they are not 10-1 now. And if Gabe Davis and Josh Allen are on the same page at the end of this game, then they're not 10-1 now either. Yep. But a big part of why they are is that they don't have Sean McDermott as their coach. They have a smart person as their coach. And Sirianni, they just make the right decisions. They just do the right stuff. And they're not a bad team or anything. They're one of the 5 best teams in the league. But they just get the most out of every position in the game, as opposed to McDermott, who just he has to start doing the George Costanza thing of just start doing the opposite of whatever you think, Sean, because you'll get closer to the correct answer. The way he managed the end of the game by calling the second timeout before the field goal, like, Sean, if he makes it, you need your timeouts. kneeling when you have Josh Allen with 20 seconds and a timeout. Just throw the ball downfield. See what happens. If it gets picked, so be it. It doesn't matter. That was a complete disaster. I have no idea what their plan was on defense at the end either. How they're just playing soft coverage the whole way, and they give up that ridiculous pass on the right sideline to Devontae Smith on the key third down. So what was the plan? Like, what's going on here, Sean? So just a complete mess. I think that the reckoning is coming for the Eagles, and I think it's probably going to come next week against the Niners.
We're running out of time, man.
Well, it almost doesn't matter if the reckoning.
It almost doesn't matter. Yes,
they've
almost banked enough.
It matters for Hurts MVP. I think the reckoning will probably think that, and he's the clear favorite in the market now. And I agree that after this, he should be the favorite, but I'd certainly be taking the field over Jalen Hurts, and it's not that close. He was magnificent in the second half, but to your point, he does look more mobile. At the same time, he had Linval Joseph on an island one-on-one and couldn't get past him in space. So look, Hurts isn't the quickest guy. He's more like fast and strong, I guess. But you would expect that Jalen Hurts could beat Linval Joseph out in space, and he couldn't today. So this doesn't look fantastic, but clearly he looks good enough to get these, to lead this team to these wins, which just get more farcical by the week. All right, everything else from Sunday, what stood out to you most?
Jacksonville beating Houston was massive. The Jags let Houston hang around, and they hang around and hang around and hang around, and that was still very, very close in the end. Jacksonville, I think, with that win, effectively secures an AFC South and a home playoff bid, and actually is tied with the top teams in the AFC for one seed, which is of interest, as it looks like Baltimore may have the goods to take care of LA tonight, and certainly we saw Kansas City do their thing and Miami do their thing. So it's the AFC is still very status quo-y. Nothing shocking there. I think we can stick a fork in Cincinnati. The Jake Browning experience was underwhelming. I think we can stick a fork in Cleveland, I think, in terms of getting into the playoffs.
Not for that, but they're in the playoffs right now. They still have a good defense, even if Garrett, and we'll get to Garrett probably during the week once we get a prognosis, but it doesn't look good for Myles Garrett. If he can't raise his shoulder and he says that he heard a pop, I would guess that he's done for the year. But they still have a good defense outside of Garrett, and they still have 7 wins banked. And the bottom of the AFC doesn't look very good. So I think they can still make the playoffs, but if they do, they're going to have to squeak in. Like, they get to play Tim Boyle and Jake Browning still on the schedule. So that could easily be 2 wins there, and then you're at 9. But yeah, they are certainly.
You would have said that about Pittsburgh, Jay. They made it hard.
Yeah, well, it's Pittsburgh though. They're not very good. Though they did look like a more. Pickett looked better today, and he had some moments. He had an absolute dime to Deontay Johnson down the right sideline, which he seems to be good for once every 3 weeks.
Yeah, he gives you a dime every now and then.
Yeah, he can throw a nice ball. It's just everything else. We'll talk about all the awards stuff and the repercussions there during the week. But in terms of the games today, Houston, Jacksonville, I agree. That's probably the most relevant, just in terms of, if the Jags lose that game, all of a sudden the complexion of the season looks quite different. The Texans are now have secured the tiebreak. They're in first place in the AFC South. CJ Stroud would be the 4th favorite for MVP in the market. Perhaps not unjustifiably so, to be honest.
Yeah, honestly, yeah.
When it was 4th and 12, I just assumed that they were just going to bring CJ Stroud out and he was just going to convert it. I feel like I have more faith in CJ Stroud playing quarterback than anyone in the league right now, which I know is wrong, but with his weapons.
Especially because you know who they did try out? Matt Amendola.
Yeah.
Matt Amendola's he's a career 60% field goal kicker, and his career long was 49.
Yeah,
so he was going to make 58. You had a better chance at a Hail Mary, probably.
Well, to be fair, he did hit the crossbar, and
He
it was
did.
dead straight. It was
He
dead
did.
down the middle. He's
He
inches
did. He just
away from
needed
making
six more inches. Yeah, 6 more inches and he's there. But still, like that would have been his career long by 9 yards. Like
I would have said
kind of
that.
crazy.
Yeah, I would have put the offense back out there, but I'm assuming D'Amico probably knows more
I
than
guess
I
so.
do about the capabilities of his team. But how quickly this changes, because if that kick goes in and then the Texans are a coin flip to win in overtime and they win the game, then D'Amico Ryans is like your clear coach of the year favorite. And now he has like a way worse case than Shane Steichen, honestly, because both those teams are 6-5 in the same division. And D'Amico's got the second coming of Peyton Manning or Jesus as his quarterback. And Shane Steichen's lost his quarterback and is out there with like a really bad version of Gardner Minshew. So there's no argument to me for D'Amico over Shane Steichen. And look, I don't think Shane Steichen's going to win Coach of the Year. I don't really know who's going to win Coach of the Year, to be honest. I think Campbell is back to just being the default favorite because the Lions
I'll tell you who I don't feel like giving it to. The guy that got his teeth kicked in by Matt LaFleur at home on Thanksgiving. What in the world? Like look. I will have unresolved anger over that Lions loss for a couple weeks probably because that cost me a lot of money, and that stunk. Like just the complete lack of juice that the Lions came out with in that game, and letting Love run all over them in the first half, and Goff, like some of those absolute boneheaded mistakes from Goff. Like that's your coach of the year. That's your coach of the year. So someone else can vote for them, not me.
Yeah,
so
I know. It's just here's the thing with Campbell. Here's my theory about Coach of the Year. Before we get back to the games, so in Week 17, there is a Saturday night standalone primetime game on December 30th, I think, between the Detroit Lions and the Dallas Cowboys. And if Dan Campbell wins that game, I think he's just going to win Coach of the Year, assuming it gets them to 12-5, 13-4. Because that will be just such a momentous win in primetime. The Lions probably to clinch the division. And then I think that you need to be able to project forward momentum in this stupid award. And so I think that'll be pretty material. But I agree. And that was a complete mess of a showing on Thanksgiving, and I feel your anger at Dan Campbell costing you money. You know what I did, Drew? Because I could feel that the same anger was going to be would be emanating from me at Sean McDermott. And so when the Bills were driving at the end of the fourth quarter, and they were at like the 20 or something with 2 minutes left, and the live line in the market was pick. And normally I'm not just, large betting off of feel in those moments. Usually I take a more measured scientific approach. I'm not betting game markets as much as I'm betting futures and other stuff. But in that moment, I was like, there's just no way the Eagles aren't favored to win this game. There's just absolutely no way that I don't think the Eagles are more than a 52% chance to win this game. And
Sean McDermott, Nick Sirianni, he has the juice. Sean McDermott does not. That's about right. And there was a lot of that this week. I guess one other kind of important note: hat tip to you. Jets team total under was a rocking chair winner, even with 6 defensive points in there. Tua tried to ruin your Black Friday, but still no juice whatsoever from the Jets. And I guess people probably slept through this because it's Thanksgiving night, and it was not a competitive game. But the Seahawks look like an absolute like we kind of knew that this wasn't a good matchup for them. That this is like the points of the Niners and just call it a night type of stuff. But boy, oh boy, they were really, really bad. Gino looks beat up and lost. The offensive line was an absolute atrocity. Seahawks, are they candidates to lose out? I think it's not out of the realm.
I mean, they have a brutal schedule. I will say that after the first drive where the Niners just marched down the field with comical ease, the Seattle defense was better after that. And then the score at the end was a little bit skewed by my man Brock Purdy with a 100th percentile dime to Brandon Ayuk for that last touchdown.
Yeah.
But I thought the defense was fine. Witherspoon was incredible in that game. And the offense is what it is. Gino's not that good. He's the 16th best quarterback in the league or something behind a bad offensive line. And then when you come up against the Niners defense, it's rolling. You're probably going to be in some trouble. All right, before we get to the Week 13 openers, Drew, it's a career first for Patrick Mahomes on Sunday Night Football. The reigning MVP will travel to Lambeau Field for the first time in his career when he takes on the second best quarterback in the NFL, Jordan Love, and the Green Bay Packers. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. Eastern, only on NBC and Peacock. So
that game has juice.
It does. Jordan Love was incredible, admittedly against the Lions defense, which might be one of the five.
Pew, 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 pew.
Yep. Yeah, but he was pristine in that game. So that's a good. NBC keeps on conjuring these good Sunday night games out of nowhere. Like Vikings Broncos was supposed to be terrible 3 weeks ago. All of a sudden, a lot of.
You remember how hard we laughed about Bills Giants?
Yeah,
that game was good.
Game, yeah, another game that Sean McDermott tried to butcher. Very on brand.
Yeah.
All right, Week 13 openers. The most compelling line of this group, or at least the most interesting one to me, is that the Niners, who were 1.5-point dogs yesterday, I believe, in Philadelphia, are now 1.5-point favorites. And the Eagles lost in the bedlam of that absurd victory was that they are kind of hurting now with personnel where Lane Johnson missed with the groin. Jason Kelsey came out of the game, and then we'll see what's up with him. Fletcher Cox left the game. Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, all these guys left the game at some point. So they are really banged up. They just had this overtime game after a short rest. Now the Niners, who talked a lot of smack after the NFC title game about how they should have won if they had their quarterback, they'll have 10 days for this game. And it's absurd to say that, I would be stunned if the Eagles win this game. Like they're 1.5-point dogs at home and they're really good, but I would kind of be stunned if the Eagles win this game. I think this is all, they just can't keep doing this. And the Niners are in as good a spot as possible, fully healthy to be able to do this. But what do you think of that line and what else stood out from the openers?
Yeah, Niners alts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Famous last words, but it does feel like Niners by 20. Watch Jalen Hurts throw a Hail Mary pass.
Niners,
7 humans to win it at the end.
Niners with their quarterback and with extra rest for this game and with the injury situation the way we are currently currently looking at the fabric of this matchup, it is Niners. I agree with the line shift. I don't think it's an overreaction to today's results. I think this probably closes Niners 3 once the dust settles and we know who's available. The Niners cornerbacks are definitely susceptible to getting beat by Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. That duo is very scary. And Jalen Hurts is playing incredible football right now. This is not even in any way a slight at Jalen Hurts and the Eagles offense. But the Eagles defense is haveable, and the Niners can do it. The Niners can get to 30 points, I think, pretty comfortably, and you just need a couple of stops from a defense that is much better than the Bills defense that couldn't get the stops we needed today. So, yeah, I think over 46.5 is a bet. I think Niners minus 1.5 is a bet. And I think if the Eagles continue to win these games somehow, some way, I'm going to have some serious soul searching to do in this offseason.
Yeah, I am with you there. It's just, it has truly descended into farce. Steelers are 6.5-point favorites. That doesn't sit right. Cardinals. I know the Cardinals.
Oh, you haven't seen the new offense now with no Matt Canada. I mean,
I saw it. It wasn't great. Jay, it was okay.
400 yards today. I mean, we're cooking. 20 points is not 16 points. Not as impressive an output as we should have seen from that offense today.
No, I don't think so. other lines of note, the Lions, who were 2.5-point favorites this morning against New Orleans in New Orleans, are now 3.5-point favorites with New Orleans. I mean, they didn't have any wide receivers by the end of that game. Shaheed does his spy. Chris Olave gets concussed. So you watch. Dan Campbell's going to be back to plus 125 in the market in 7 days after.
I don't know, man. I don't have a good read on the Saints. I made a big bet on the Saints to win the AFC South when I thought they were the clear better team. Today's loss was like a vote of no confidence in everything that they're trying to do. 5 field goals. Okay. No one in the building thought like this is a high leverage game. We really need to have the good plays ready to go in those high leverage moments. No, let's just kick field goals. Hopefully we just need 8 field goals if we're gonna allow 21 points. And yes, 7 of those were a pick 6. But yeah, it was that was a shocker of a result. 24-15 in favor of the Falcons. And credit to Art Smith and the Desmond Ritter and company. But New Orleans is a tough handicap. I can't believe that Detroit on the road is outside of 3. That doesn't feel right. The other one that really shocked me is I'm not sure if you saw this on Thursday, Jay. Dallas closed 13.5-point favorites.
This is the other one. This entire line will be double digits against the Commanders. I don't understand how it's only 9. Yeah,
I don't. That both of them, right? Like, why isn't Dallas outside? Why isn't Dallas double digits? Why isn't Miami double digits? What am I missing?
I think the Seahawks are still fine. And if you want to say that the Seahawks are like a neutral team, and then the Cowboys are 5.5 to 6 points better than your average team, and then you add in home field and you get to 7. That one doesn't strike me as too off. I mean, it's not long ago that the Seahawks were like what were the Seahawks in Baltimore? They were 6.5.
Did you see those sequences in the first half of that game where they elected to have Jason Peters on the field?
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing. Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. But the Dolphins are I would be pretty surprised if that closes single digits against the Commanders team. That they don't have any pass rushers anymore, which is a problem. And they don't have a secondary, which again is a problem, particularly against Miami. So I would expect that closes 10.
I think Dallas is catching money too. Dallas and Miami, I think both close double digits.
Okay, I like it. Bold call on the Cowboys. Hopefully they don't spend all their bullets before they have to take down. We need another good team, and a real team to take down the Eagles the following week. But hopefully my man Brock Purdy can do it first. All right, before we get to Bears Vikings, a reminder that Bet the Edge isn't the only show every weekday during the NFL season. You can also check out the Fantasy Football Happy Hour with Matthew Berry, Connor Rogers, and myself. It airs live on Peacock at noon Eastern, re-airs at 4 p.m., and is available on our NFL on NBC Sports YouTube channel, as well as wherever you listen to your podcasts. All right, Vikings -3, home to the Bears. Total is 44. This line opened 4.5 Vikings, and then with Justin Jefferson, very unlikely to play the line, and perhaps there was some natural movement as well to get the line down to 3. Do you think it's moved enough? Too much? Where do you stand on this game?
I think it has gotten to the correct price point. That said, I think there was a bet outside of 3. I think it's largely just still counting on the Bears defense being slightly underrated by market. Josh Dobbs is a very unique case in terms of trying to handicap him as a quarterback. It is clear that at times with Kevin O'Connell, this guy's ceiling is higher. Like there certainly is an opportunity with a superlative pass protection and outstanding skill position play. The Vikings are a dangerous offense. Justin Jefferson not expected to go. Bears defense is at absolute peak full strength right now. This should be an opportunity for them to keep Fields and company in the game. And if if we see something competitive and this lands 3 either way, I won't be surprised. I think 3.5 was small value Chicago. I have some 3.5 in my betting accounts, and I will hope that it gets there. 3.5 is, I will kind of qualify that the Vikings Bears game we saw in Chicago a couple weeks ago was a little different for a lot of reasons, right?
Yes.
Like there was unique circumstances. It's always different when they play in the dome in Minnesota versus Chicago. In fact, of all of the kind of divisional rivalries we have in the NFL, this is the one that feels the most venue dependent, right? Like the games in Chicago are always super gross, ugly, low scoring, bloodbath type of stuff. Whereas the games in the domes are always a little bit more free flowing offense, a little bit more high octane. And so I hope Justin Fields and company bring their, A game and have a competitive product here. But I would expect this probably closes 3. If it dips to 2.5, am I going to have a real serious look in the mirror and think about betting Minnesota? Yes.
Yep. No, I think that's a fair breakdown. 2 things on this game. One, there's still, I think, a certain shine on Josh Dobbs, where I think a lot of people would say that there is not a huge quarterback advantage in this game. Maybe it's not huge, but I think that Justin Fields is definitely the quarterback that I would want in this game. I think he's just better than Josh Dobbs. And the other thing too is that having watched a lot of Vikings the past few weeks with my interest in Kevin O'Connell, Coach of the Year, which is alive again, given Dan Campbell's loss and all the chaos in that market, where if he wins the division now, I think he'll win that award. The sneaky thing that I've noticed watching these games, and perhaps it's not so sneaky, but Vikings have no pass rush whatsoever outside of Danielle Hunter. That's all they've got. So they have to send all these exotic blitz packages, and it's all smoke and mirrors. And at some point, someone is just going to blow the doors off them. And I don't think Chicago is necessarily set up to be that team. But at the same time, with Fields and his ability to scramble and perhaps evade the blitz, I think that there is value in playing his over passing yards, which is under 200 right now, which is incredibly low to me. It's 197.5. So I would look at overs there, certainly, and that would be my angle of attack in this game. Quietly Fields, I mean, he didn't have a great passing game against the Lions, but he was trending in the right direction before that. I mean, now admittedly he had a very bad half against Minnesota before he got hurt, but previous to that, 282 yards on 29 attempts against Washington, 335 on 35 attempts against Denver. He's just looked better as a passer, and he was 16 at 23 for 169 against the Lions in a game where they were largely leading. So I think that Fields over is the way that I would approach this one.
I love that look.
Yep. Cool.
The controlled environment just makes that just compound it all. Like on that fast turf, he should be able to do it both ways. And getting 200 yards passing, healthy set of weapons. Questions about the secondary here for for the Vikings. This definitely checks out. And I guess we still don't know who the 7th seed is going to be in the NFC. I think we're going to end up with a little bit of a race here between Green Bay, Chicago, and Minnesota. Is that crazy?
Yeah, I can't have the Bears in there. I do think the Week 17 game between the Vikings and the Packers might be the game that does decide that. I believe that's in Minnesota, but. Yeah, I mean, I guess there's a little bit of intrigue around that. 2 compelling teams in a way, with the way Jordan Love is playing, and Justin Jefferson will presumably be back by then. That must have been one hell of a hamstring for Justin Jefferson, because he's going to miss 7 games in 8 weeks because of it. So I've not really seen that too often.
Was there something else that we never heard about?
No idea. I mean, there have been, off the top of my head, in Australian football, I think Nick Rewalt, who Australian listeners will know fondly, I believe he did his hamstring and was out for 4 months. But I think that was like hamstring off the bone type of thing. And I don't think that's what happened with Jefferson. But It seems like he will surely be back after the bye against the Raiders in week 14. Until then, Justin, we will do without you on Monday Night Football, and we'll live in the world of Jordan Addison and KJ Osborne. All right, we are done. Don't forget to check out NBCSports.com for more information to help you with your wagers. Thanks for those of you watching on the NBC Sports YouTube channel. And if you're listening to us in podcast form, don't forget to rate and subscribe. And also a reminder to find all your favorite NBC Sports shows on Amazon Music. Just head to amazon.com/NBC Sports. From Jay Croucher and Drew Dinsick, we'll see you tomorrow.